The Armenian Genocide, 1915–1917. The Armenian Genocide was the systematic extermination of approximately 1.5 million Armenians by the Ottoman Empire during World War I. It is considered one of the first modern genocides and remains a highly sensitive and controversial topic in historical and geopolitical discussions. Through its devastating consequences, the genocide serves as a crucial teaching moment about the consequences of prejudice, unchecked power, and the rejection of tolerance in society. For educators, it holds valuable lessons on teaching historical responsibility, resilience, and the importance of preventing future atrocities. By the early 20th century, the Ottoman Empire was crumbling under the weight of territorial losses, internal uprisings, and external pressures. Once a dominant world power, it faced an era of unprecedented decline. Nationalist movements arose, fueled by the empire's desperation to maintain dominance. The rulers, particularly the Committee of Union and Progress, SUP, clung tightly to Turkish nationalism as a unifying yet exclusionary ideology. This shift prioritized Turkish identity above all else and created an environment of suspicion toward minority groups, particularly Armenians. Armenians, predominantly Christian, had lived in the Ottoman Empire for centuries as a distinct ethnic and religious minority. They contributed significantly to Ottoman culture, arts, and economy, but were often marginalized as second-class citizens. Although Armenians aspired to greater equality and fairness, their demands were met with resistance and suspicion. Periodic violence and discriminatory policies underscored their precarious position within the empire. The late 19th and early 20th centuries saw a surge in nationalist aspirations. Armenian movements sought autonomy and rights within the empire, but these ambitions conflicted with rising Turkish nationalism. The growing belief that Armenians posed a threat, exacerbated by external pressures from Russia and other powers supporting Armenian causes, created a dangerous sense of mistrust. For educators, this intersection between nationalism and minority rights offers valuable insights for teaching about the importance of pluralism in diverse societies. The onset of World War I in 1914 further complicated the Ottoman Empire's fragile state. Aligning itself with the Central Powers, Germany and Austria-Hungary, the empire entered a high-stakes conflict aimed at reclaiming lost prestige. However, the war also served as a convenient pretext to intensify domestic control. The KYUP leadership exploited the wartime chaos to act against perceived internal threats, including the Armenian population. Armenians were accused of treason and collusion with enemy forces, particularly Russia, despite limited evidence supporting such claims. This perception painted all Armenians as a collective threat, leading to policies that justified harsh and oppressive measures. Educators can use this example to spark classroom discussions on how propaganda and misinformation can be weaponized to justify injustice. The genocide officially began on April 24, 1915, with the arrests of hundreds of Armenian intellectuals and leaders in Constantinople, modern-day Istanbul. This act aimed to decapitate the Armenian leadership and silence any organized resistance. Today, April 24th is observed globally as Armenian Genocide Remembrance Day, serving as a powerful reminder of the need for remembrance and accountability. Following the mass arrests, the Ottoman government implemented large-scale deportations under the guise of resettling Armenians in remote areas. In reality, these deportations were brutal death marches into the Syrian Desert. Stripped of resources, families faced dehydration, starvation, and attacks by Ottoman forces or local bandits. This facilitated the systematic removal of Armenians from their ancestral lands. Men were often separated from their families and executed outright. Women, children, and the elderly were subjected to physical and sexual violence, abductions, and psychological torment. Entire villages were destroyed, and cultural landmarks, such as historic churches and schools, were desecrated. Educators may find it relevant to highlight this cultural erasure as part of the broader tragedy, emphasizing the loss of both human lives and collective heritage. Survivors of the grueling marches were sent to concentration camps in inhospitable desert regions. Conditions were inhumane, with rampant disease, starvation, and unimaginable suffering. These camps became death traps that further decimated the Armenian population. For students, examining the mechanisms of dehumanization in these camps can provide lessons on how systemic oppression destroys communities. Historians estimate that approximately 1.5 million Armenians, 3/4 of their pre-war population in the Ottoman Empire, were killed during the genocide. This staggering loss of life underscores the calculated and deliberate nature of the genocide. It also offers educators an opportunity to discuss the methodologies and challenges involved in documenting and verifying historical atrocities. Beyond the immediate human toll, the genocide had a destructive impact on Armenian culture and history. Churches, schools, and other cultural institutions were systematically targeted, ensuring the attempted erasure of Armenian identity in Anatolia. This intentional destruction highlights the importance of preserving cultural heritage as a vital element of human solidarity. The genocide led to the forced displacement of surviving Armenians, many of whom fled to neighboring countries or distant lands, forming a diaspora. The Armenian communities in the United States, France, Russia, and the Middle East became vibrant centers of Armenian identity, memory, and activism. For educators, examining the resilience and rebuilding of the Armenian diaspora offers hope and inspiration for conversations about overcoming collective trauma. Modern Turkey, as the Ottoman Empire's successor, has long denied that the events constituted a genocide. Instead, it claims the deaths were wartime casualties rather than evidence of premeditated extermination. This denial has led to tension in international relations, particularly with nations and organizations that recognize the genocide. Educators might use this issue to explore the complexities of historical interpretation and ethical responsibility in addressing contested events. Over 30 countries, including the United States, France, and Germany, officially recognize the Armenian Genocide. International organizations such as the United Nations and human rights groups also affirm its classification as a genocide. These recognitions demonstrate the importance of global solidarity in confronting historical injustices and establishing accountability. Today, April 24th, is globally observed as Armenian Genocide Remembrance Day. Monuments, such as the Armenian Genocide Memorial Complex in Yerevan, Armenia, serve as somber reminders of the atrocities. These spaces also provide educators with an opportunity to teach the importance of remembrance in cultivating a future free from prejudice and atrocity. The Armenian Genocide significantly influenced the development of international human rights law. Raphael Lemkin, who coined the term genocide, was deeply moved by the events and used them to advocate for the 1948 UN Genocide Convention, which formally defined and criminalized genocide. This linkage makes the Armenian genocide pivotal in understanding the evolution of legal frameworks to prevent mass atrocities. For Armenians, the pursuit of universal recognition for the genocide remains central to their efforts toward cultural preservation and justice. Ongoing initiatives, including education and advocacy, seek to ensure that the memory of the genocide is neither forgotten nor denied. For educators, exploring these efforts can foster deeper discussions about justice, memory, and the prevention of history repeating itself. The Armenian Genocide of 1915-1917 was a systematic, calculated campaign to annihilate an ethnic and cultural group. Through arrests, massacres, deportations, and cultural erasure, it sought to extinguish Armenian life and heritage. For educators, teaching the Armenian Genocide presents a powerful opportunity to reflect on humanity's shared responsibility to confront past injustices, understand their causes, and commit to building a future of tolerance and peace. The lessons of the Armenian Genocide resonate today as a call to recognize the dangers of nationalism, prejudice, and dehumanization. By remembering this tragedy, educators can inspire their students to become advocates for justice and human dignity. In learning from this painful history, students and educators alike are empowered to contribute to a world that values accountability, compassion, and coexistence.